Dear friends, this is day 1105 of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. Trump has stopped the military aid to Ukraine. Will it make the country capitulate? Russian terrorists hit Odessa and Ukrainian drones massively attacked Russian oil refineries overnight. Let's talk about all this right now. My friends, just a while ago, Russian invaders attacked several Ukrainian cities. Donald Trump says that Putin wants peace. Apparently, that is why Russians attacked a pediatric clinic in Sumy. Luckily, the building was only slightly damaged. No casualties were reported. Also, in Odessa, critical infrastructure and several apartment buildings were hit by the Russian kamikaze drones. 4 people were injured. And in Kherson, Russian terrorists used gliding bombs to strike the city. Unfortunately, a 46-year-old policeman lost his life due to this attack. The frontline remains primarily stationary. However, Ukrainian defenders report slight tactical success around Pokrovsk, Toretsk, Kupiansk, and Chasiv Yar. All this despite the fact that the Russian invaders increased their presence in Ukraine by 40,000 men. Ukrainian intelligence reports that approximately 620,000 Russian terrorists are currently deployed in Ukraine and the neighboring Kursk Oblast. Of these troops, around 200,000 are actively engaged on the front lines. In 2024 alone, Kremlin reportedly managed to recruit 440,000 Russian toilet thieves. The number is slightly higher than anticipated due to the increased financial benefits and the recruitment of individuals under criminal investigation or serving sentences. Why we can't see any significant combat gains from Russians over the past months? The answer is pretty much the same: lack of vehicles and artillery shells, multiplied by highly effective Ukrainian drone warfare. Particularly interesting episode happened last week when Ukrainian special forces destroyed a rare Russian self-propelled howitzer Malva. Rare doesn't mean advanced, my friends. The Russian invaders started producing Malva since 2023 due to the shortage of self-propelled howitzers like Msta S, hoping that they will be faster and cheaper to manufacture. But the Russians weren't able to establish mass production. That is why destroying those howitzers is kinda rare in Ukraine. Well, on the other hand, seeing Russians riding donkeys and horses was also kinda rare, but not anymore. At the same time, as much as 3 Russian oil refineries and storage facilities were hit tonight by the good Ukrainian drones. The Russian monitoring channels were reporting explosions throughout the night in the area of Chertkov, Sызrань, and Novoshakhtinsk. Tonight, the White House announced stopping all military aid to Ukraine in order to assist Russian invaders with killing more Ukrainian civilians. I'm sorry, I'm not a diplomat, I'm calling the things for what they are, okay? So, according to the White House, all military supplies for Ukraine's defense that were being loaded or en route to Ukraine are now frozen. It is also worth mentioning that only American military aid to Ukraine was stopped. Russia still keeps receiving theirs from China or North Korea. So, how will this decision change the situation in Ukraine? First of all, Ukrainian defenders will face shortage of 155mm shells, which means that Russia may acquire a slight edge on the tactical and operational level. We know that Russians were experiencing shortages of shells themselves. It wasn't a secret. Russian members of parliament talked about it, Baradai talked about it, Russian insider Golikov talked about it, even Prigozhin talked about it before he died. That is why such a gift from the American President Donald Trump to the Russian invaders will be highly appreciated in Kremlin. Another thing is GMLRS and ATACMS missiles used in systems like HIMARS and M270. It is expected that within the next week, Ukrainian defenders will experience shortage of crucial munitions for those artillery systems. In Ukraine, they've been used for precision strikes on the crucial Russian targets like command centers, ammo storages, or concentrated groups of Russian personnel. Putin obviously didn't have anything like HIMARS in the Russian army, which gave Ukraine advantage in terms of precision and range. And now, feeling that Russian rear is more secure, the Russian invaders will be able to concentrate more troops and ammunition on the occupied territory of Ukraine. This will cause more Ukrainian cities to be destroyed or captured by the Russian invaders, more civilian lives lost, thanks to American President Donald Trump and his team. And probably the most crucial thing is Patriot missile stockpile that is used by Ukrainian defenders to protect human lives and intercept high-speed Russian ballistic missiles. I remember the early months of the Russian invasion when ballistic missiles that were striking Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities could not be stopped. That's when we lost majority of Ukrainian civilians in Kyiv due to the Russian fire. What we can expect now is increased Russian strikes on critical Ukrainian infrastructure and, unfortunately, more civilian casualties due to Donald Trump's decision to stop helping Ukraine protect its sky. And to me personally, it seems that Donald Trump is trying to force Ukraine to surrender through increased civilian casualties and political pressure. But will it cause Ukraine to surrender? In 2022, first 3 months of the Russian invasion, Ukraine literally fought without any land-lease whatsoever. President Biden only signed land-lease on 9th of May 2022 when it became apparent that Ukraine was not gonna give up. And of course, it took a long while before systems like HIMARS or Patriot even arrived to Ukraine. During this period, Ukraine alone managed to remove Russian invaders from Kyiv Oblast and liberated Chernihiv, for example. However, Ukraine was running out of ammunition very, very fast. In 2023-2024, there was a 6-month gap in the US military aid that was blocked again by Donald Trump and his supporters. By the time, the Russians quadrupled the number of their personnel in Ukraine, but did it help them win? Not at all. However, did it cause Ukraine to lose a lot of experienced soldiers? Yes, it did, unfortunately. Why does Donald Trump help Russia eliminate Ukrainian defenders? Well, apparently he's got some serious reasons to support Putin. One of the possible reasons may be the oil. That is just my assumption. Trump, and just like Biden before him, by the way, may be concerned with Ukrainian strikes on the Russian oil refineries. As of today, Ukraine seized maybe as much as 1/3 of the Russian oil production. We can't tell the true scale of this because Russia classified the data, but judging from the OSINT, it may be up to 1/3 or more. What I personally see happening in the nearest future is two things, actually. First, obviously, increased Ukrainian casualties due to the shortage of ammunition caused by the stopped military support. Again, it means that Ukraine will have less capability to defend its civilians from the Russian ballistic missiles. Second thing is most probably Trump will lift some of the sanctions against Russia because at this point Russia spends 1/3 of its budget on the war. Putin requires more soldiers and he requires more finances to recruit those soldiers and buy weapons abroad, which will lead additionally to killing even more Ukrainian civilians. I think that we can expect Trump to lift some of the Russian sanctions before summer. Another question is, can Patriot missiles be supplanted? At this point, the closest thing Europe can provide Ukraine with is SAMP-T systems with the Aster missile produced locally in Europe. This means that theoretically Ukraine will preserve its capability to intercept Russian ballistic missiles, but the overall effectiveness of the Ukrainian air defense will be dramatically decreased because Europe can only provide so much missiles of this type for Ukraine. As a summary, I believe that Ukraine will definitely withstand. However, more Ukrainians will die due to Donald Trump before Russia finally collapses and stops being a threat. At this point, Donald Trump is only prolonging the inevitable Russian demise, and unfortunately, the price of this is Ukrainian lives. Despite that, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Don't forget to share this episode, and as usual, I will see you in the commentaries. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.